Hey guys, and welcome back to the Rockstar Superhero Podcast. This week on the show, we have Matt DiRito from PopEvil. Bass player, cool guy, tattoos, visionary. I love this guy. I mean, my God. This guy is, he's my friend. He's everything I want to be around. Just a giant heart and an amazing musician. So much fun, so kind, lovely in every way. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Matt DiRito on the Rockstar Superhero Podcast. Rock and roll.
So basically, you're a rock star.
I don't know. I don't feel like there are any of those left anymore. I mean, like, there are no new age rock stars. It's not really I don't know. It's a sort of a self-serving term, and I don't really like to use it. I mean, okay. I play music for a living. I'm a musician. I'd much rather be a musician than a rock star. You know, like that's to me someone who gets idolized for doing crazy stuff, and I don't know. It's, you know, and that whole mentality kind of took me down a bad path when I was younger and led to my sobriety, I guess. It was this idea of, you know, I went from working a shop job day in and day out to giving that up and going on the road and touring for the first time. And I had this image in my head, you know, of what it should be and what I should be doing on the road and the things that my heroes did and people I looked up to. Like I had to fulfill that. And it was that whole idea of, you know, a rock star or whatever that I thought I had to, you know, fit into that mold. And I made some pretty poor life decisions because of it. And, you know, thankfully, like, pulled myself out of it. And I've been sober for 3.5 years now. And, you know, I haven't been to jail since I've been sober, which is, you know, the two kind of go hand in hand. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I got weird thoughts on that whole.
No, that's cool. Well, a perfect way to start then. I alienate you right off the bat, but
no. Well, as I'm drinking and
as a rock star, there it is. Well, so no, actually, I'll actually finish the thought, because I do think of you as a rock star, but I think of you as a new rock star, and what I mean by that is, when I first saw a photo of you, I've never talked to you on the phone. This was before you and I had originally communicated, and I saw a photo of you, and I said, okay, tall, dark, handsome, the whole thing, like lean, leather, bass player, tats. Right? The hardcore, committed, maybe a little insane, stage presence. The thing that I discovered about you is you are actually this really big-hearted guy. And I think a lot of that comes from sobriety, but a lot of it just comes from life lessons, right? I mean, you
Absolutely.
Like you said, you became the stereotype. You lived out what you thought you were supposed to live, and then you actually just turned into Matt DiRito, grown up.
You know, the hardest thing for me to do was to figure out that I just wanted to be the guy that I was before all of this started. You know, the person that my parents raised me to be, you know, the kind of person that I was before, you know, without having those expectations for myself to fill some other kind of shoes. So really it's, you know, I mean, every day I try to be more like that person, the person that I was before all this started. Yeah. That's really it.
No, that's fair. You know, you mentioned your family and you mentioned your parents, and do you feel that they raised you to handle, you know, this life, or was it more they didn't know where you were going to go and you just were sort of crafted as this sort of gentle-hearted musical hopeful, right? You grew up, see, like me, I grew up in a very soft, safe home. And I knew that if I were let out into the world, right, I was going to turn into probably a madman for a while. But then eventually I'd sort of find my way back, right, to my normalcy and my heart and all those things that formed me. I'm assuming it's the same for you.
Yeah, you know, and my folks did a great job of raising me. They were kids with kids, you know. They started really, really young. And when I got to be in high school and stuff like that, it was all the kids would come over to my house to hang out because my parents were like the cool parents that would hang out and crack jokes and cook food and all that kind of stuff. So I think the biggest thing that they taught me was they gave me the freedom to make my own decisions, and they let the weight of that, on my shoulders. So they didn't, I never felt like I had someone making choices for me, and, like I had to experiment beyond those because, I felt like I was being forced into one thing or another. If I was ever forced into anything, it was because I did it for myself. I put that pressure on myself, but.
No, that's cool. I mean, I've seen a few photos of your mom. At least I think it's your mom with you. Maybe on your Facebook page or on your mom's Facebook page. I'm not really sure. Maybe it's on Twitter. But the point is I saw a photo with you and I think some other family members, and I got the really, really powerful feeling that your mom's your biggest fan.
Yeah, man. Everyone's mom should be their biggest fan. It's funny because we're writing new songs right now for our up and coming record, and it's kind of an inside joke between us. Like if one of us comes up with an idea or a song or a riff or something, we'll play it, and if the other guys aren't real too sure about it, we'll say, well, I like it. Well, my mom likes it.
No, that's good. Do you feel you guys write safe material? Do you feel you guys write aggressive material? Or how much has it changed maybe over the course of the time you've been in the band? Because you came in 2007, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's right. It's changed quite a bit. When we first started writing, we had very specific goals in mind, from our management, from our label, from radio and things like that. We had a certain sound and a certain type of music that we were really going for. And with every album, we try to push out and push away from that a little more. It's like we're already an established band, and for us to look at it and go, we're going to try something different, something that makes us happy, something that is fun for us to play live, something that we can be proud of, to come up with something really neat and stretch our imaginations a little bit. It's definitely a little more risky now than it ever has been. In fact, we use 3 words that we try to add into every song. So at least one of the 3 things should be in every song that we write. And we're trying to be really hard on ourselves to push ourselves creatively and not just go back into a safe zone that we know we can do it. All the stuff that people would expect us to do, we can do. So we're definitely taking some risks. So it's risky, sexy, and dangerous.
Nice.
So if the song doesn't have at least one of those things in it, go back to the drawing board.
And literally the lyric or literally the idea?
It could be anything. It could be where you're taking it musically, like, oh man, I wouldn't see you guys doing that,
Nice.
Or,
And the perfect song hits all 3 out of the park, right?
Oh yeah. Perfect song is, absolutely.
Okay.
Which I don't know if we've got that yet, but
yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you've crafted that. So do you think in the past material you've worked on, though, the last few albums, do you think you've hit a few sweet spots yet? There
might be. When we look at that and go backwards in time and look at some of our past songs, it's easy to see which ones don't live up to that. And again, this is just something that we put on ourselves, to try to push ourselves. But, there might be some songs with a little element of danger, a little element of sexy here and there, but it's something that we're kind of striving for with the new album.
Right. Do you guys write as a band, or does somebody write the majority of the material and then bring it in and then everybody adds their parts?
No, we full on write as a band. It's been the 4 of us band members, like, drums, 2 guitars and bass, locked in a house together for the past 6 weeks.
Wow.
Just hashing stuff out. We're in the middle of nowhere out on a lake, and it's great. And it's cool. In the past, it has been different. We have written in different ways. But I'd say this album by far is definitely the biggest collective, of us all getting together and, hashing out ideas and writing things from scratch. And so everyone's got input on every single song that we do.
Wow, that's awesome. So it sounds like you've found you found yourself as a really truly cohesive unit then now, finally.
Yeah, absolutely. We're figuring out how we work together, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, who would you say is your inspiration to create music from the beginning? You know, why bass?
Jazz.
Okay.
Really, that's why I picked bass. You know, it wasn't until I got into high school and I joined jazz band. I played saxophone before that. I joined jazz band, and I'm like, wow, man, the bass kicks ass. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, like cool walking bass lines and stuff like that. The tone of it, the way it locks in with the drums. It really caught my ear through jazz more than anything else. I mean, I grew up on rock and roll and everything like that, but, you know, I'm trained and educated in different forms of music. And it wasn't until I really started digging into jazz where I was like, man, this is cool and it's challenging. And I picked it up and joined the jazz band and learned all those weird scales and stuff and how to twist notes around and, you know, move one part into the next and out. And, yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was influenced by jazz a lot too, but probably not the same thing. I was interested more in 40s and 50s. I mean, I'm a lot older than you, right? So sad to say, I was influenced by guys like Louis Bellson and Gene Krupa, you know. And it seems like most of the guys who talk about being influenced by jazz, it was more about the 60s and 70s, right? Miles Coltrane, or maybe Jaco Pastorius for you. You know?
Yeah, Jaco is huge, man.
Yeah. And a monster player, just so solid and so weird, right? He was just like so eccentric, and he didn't care what anybody thought. And granted, his eccentricities were ramped up by drugs and alcohol, but he was still truly brilliant and tortured, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was that ego that got him killed.
Yeah. Well, you're a young guy, man. That pisses me off.
Sorry, man. Can't help.
No, that's great. So who was an influence for you? Like, what kind of music? I mean, excuse me, not what kind of music. What artists?
Well, you hit the nail on the head with Jaco.
Okay.
He was really big. Jaco, Victor Wooten in the early days.
Yeah, I love Victor Wooten.
And then, you know, like as it crossed over, there were other people that influenced me in different ways when it came to bass. So you've got Twiggy, who's been in some of my favorite bands. You know, he's been in A Perfect Circle. He's been in Marilyn Manson. He's been in Nine Inch Nails. Those are all huge for me. And, you know, Nikki Sixx, like as a songwriter and a performer, not necessarily as a player. Same thing with Twiggy. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you got guys like Billy Sheehan, like that could just shred. And it was like, he was a great example of a crossover for me between a rock guy and a jazz guy, someone who could pick up the bass, wail on it, and still fit into, you know, rock music.
Yeah. People never got how great he was. I mean, bass players know and drummers know how influential Billy Sheehan is. It's not was, is. You know, I mean, he's extraordinary. That guy can do more with those fingers than anybody I've seen. You know, I think in some ways he probably bridges the gap better than even a Victor Wooten, because he can play so many styles so well, right? Where not to knock Wooten, Jesus, I mean, Wooten's an amazing talent, but Sheehan seems to be able to hit all landscapes. I mean, all of them. I mean, he can play the most fierce metal all the way down to true swing, right?
Yeah. And when you look at, you know, like his biggest hit, right? You know, I'm the one who wants to be with you.
Mr. Big.
You would never think that if that was the only thing that you ever heard by Mr. Big or that Billy Sheehan's played on, you would never think that dude could play the way that he does. But someone like Victor Wooten has a rhythm bass player with him all the time, because all he does is lead bass, you know?
That's right.
Even when he's sitting back, he's in the front, and that's cool. It's his style, it's his thing. But like you said, Billy definitely touches on a lot more styles.
Yeah. You make your home in Muskegon, right?
Yeah,
that's how it's pronounced. I've always wondered, right? I've never really known.
Yeah. Muskegon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The home of Shivering Timbers.
Oh yeah. That's right. You're a coaster freak, huh?
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. Yeah.
Have you been?
No, I haven't. I admit I haven't. I would like to go there. I would love to go there, actually, but it's just so...
Yeah, it's 10 minutes from the house.
But it's so far off the beaten path, right? I mean, you got to head a couple of hours off of 90 to get there, and I don't know. It's just never been on my... It's always on my radar. It's never been on my trajectory, if that makes sense.
Let's see. If you hit Six Flags, you could shoot straight up. I think it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, maybe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! But you've gone there. I mean, are you a roller coaster guy? I mean, I know you're a friend with Sean, but Sean's a roller coaster fanatic. Are you one of those guys as well?
If I'm there, yeah, I'm all about them.
Okay,
but I don't go and seek them out. If I happen to end up at a theme park or something, I wouldn't not ride them. Like, I love riding them, but I haven't got a checklist or anything like that.
Right. Well, it's not like you don't have a life already.
I stay pretty busy. Yeah, absolutely.
So how many hours a day do you think you put into music and into PopEvil?
That's a really hard question to answer.
Okay.
Since it's it's a 24-hour day job, because basically PopEvil is it's really hard to find the line between who I am and what PopEvil is. And it's one of those jobs where, when you're self-employed and you're doing everything all the time, it's like, taking calls from my manager at 2, 3 in the morning. And then as soon as I get up, I've got emails to answer and people to get back to, and, set lists to build and things to prepare for. And if I had to say like how many hours a day it's on my mind and I'm, preparing stuff for it or getting ready for it, it's a lot. It's an all day, every day kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than just the time that I have a guitar in my hands on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, people forget it's called the music business for a reason. The word business, right? And I'm assuming, are you then sort of a publicist for the band? Are you the sort of the band spokesperson?
Not really the spokesperson. I'd say me and the singer Lee, we do the majority of interviews and stuff like that. But it is what it is. It's our creation. I love talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. So
there is no dividing line, right? I think fans will always recognize great bands when they realize you are the band. That it's not just a persona. That you are that person and you live it and you breathe it. And I don't want to use some cheesy term like it's a lifestyle, right? Because that's a punk aesthetic that doesn't necessarily apply, and it always felt a little sort of arrogant. But it is true that the great bands they live their band. Their band is them. They are their band.
Yeah, and it's the same with the fans too. And I think that's why you get a lot of crap in the rock industry and stuff like that with the whole rock is dead type thing. But more than any other genre, in my opinion, it's a lifestyle with the fans, with the people that listen to it. Because if I weren't in a band, I would still be going to a ton of concerts. I'd still be buying up music, and I would still be buying up T-shirts and going to see my favorite bands. It's a lifestyle thing. When I look out and I see our fans coming over and over and over again to shows, I know that it's a lifestyle. That's who they are. They're that to the core, And top 40, it's like, all right, cool. I like this right now, and then it's gone. There's something else. So.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of longevity in not trying to appeal to pop sensibilities. And it doesn't mean that you don't want to have legacy and have a hit and all those things that I think, look, every musician gets in the business not to be an esoteric artist. They all want people to appreciate what they're doing. They don't necessarily want it to be loved like a top 40 hit, but they do want it to be appreciated and I think understood, right? I mean, maybe I'm wrong, and I don't want to speak for you, but that's how it always felt for me in the music business. I wanted people to recognize what I was putting together was something special. I wanted to be told it was special, but I didn't necessarily want. I didn't care about the money and all that other crap that goes with it.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for it, and my time to have people, appreciate what I've done and what I've created. It comes internally from the people that I work with, like on an album like this. But the day that we release our album, it goes off into the world and it's no longer ours. Like that music is no longer mine.
It's awesome.
once it's been shared. And rather than have people understand and appreciate what I've done, my ultimate goal is for people to understand it themselves and understand how those songs are a part of them and have those songs change people's lives and perspectives on things. And, the best thing about the bands that you love or the songs that you love are the ones that you can take, and the second that you hear it, it becomes like a time machine. You fly back to high school and you remember the people you're hanging out with and what you're doing and what that song did for you at a certain point in your life and what that song means to you. That's more important to me than people, appreciating what I've put together or trying to understand what my message is or what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
By the time that record comes out, I've already said it and I've already gone through the healing process of it.
Wow. That's a great way to put it.
At that point it goes out and it becomes everyone else's, and it's for them to pick it up and say, this is my therapy today. This is what's getting me through my day today. And, this song just gets me, even if it's not what we intended at all. If it's what it means to them and it helps them, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So is music then for you mostly cathartic?
It's got different uses.
Okay.
Different bands, different albums. My music specifically, is that what you're asking?
Well, yeah, it could be obviously defined a lot of different ways. If you're a fan, then music could be catharsis for a number of different things. But as a songwriter, you said, you create it, you give it away, and you sort of release it almost like it's pain, right? You sort of cut that cancer out, and I'm exaggerating, I get it, but it the way you put it made it sound like you use songwriting as a tool to sort of cut out the demons in you, if you will. And I don't know if I'm exaggerating. I'm sorry if I am, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny because I talk to people and, they'll ask me, how's it going in the studio, or how's it going songwriting? And are things going good? Are you having fun? And my answer is always pretty much the same. And I hate it. I hate writing music because it's exactly that. It's, once every 2 years or so, we make an album and we have to sit down and tap into that part of you that you've put a wall up against, the part that you don't like to show the world. I'm literally having to sit down with some of the people I'm closest to and open up a part of me that I don't want anybody to see. It sucks. It really sucks. But when it's done and done the right way, it's 2, 3, 4 months of just torment, and your head's messy and you can't think straight, and you get emotionally tied to every single song that you do. And then when it's done and you can put a stamp on it and send it off, that's the best feeling in the world. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It is that to a T, and it's a process that I hate, but I know it's good for me. It's like going to therapy, and it's really good to get that stuff out and feel better about yourself, and then to see how it affects other people, and hopefully see how it affects people in a good way, in a positive way, so that they don't have to take those steps that you do. So, they can use that music as a tool to tap into those places in themselves and say, oh man, that's exactly how I feel. I don't know what it is about this song, but I can't stop listening to this one over and over again because of the way it makes me feel. Not even necessarily what's said, just the way it makes me feel. There hasn't been a single song that we've recorded on any album where at some point in the recording process, I haven't broke down and shed a few tears. Every single song, wow. No matter how stupid they are, whether it's pride, whether it's, being proud of, man, this song sounds great, I feel really good about this, or the opposite end of the spectrum, geez, man, like, like feels really good to finally say this or finally get this out. It's just, it's really something different. It's hard to put into words, but, I sink myself into every song that we do.
Yeah. I love the transparency there was wild. I actually don't know how to go from here.
That's fine.
You just kind of clobbered me just now, and I mean, in a great way. I love what you shared. I love that passion and that conviction. And at the same time, I looked at your face, Matt, when you were sharing that with me just now, and I don't know how to explain it. I wish my audience could see this, but it was just so honest, and I almost sensed this. There was this glint in your eye of being so passionate and emotional. You were emotional about it. Even the answer of it was emotional. Like you were on the cusp of tears, even talking about it, because it's so real to you.
Absolutely, it is, man. It's a hard thing to put into words, the whole process, and the bonding that you do with the other musicians, and that's why there's like a whole nother brotherhood to the people that you write songs with, and the people that help you tap into things that you can't always hit yourself, or Lee will come up with a lyric that says what I wanted to say, and thank you for doing that. Like, I don't know how you did it, but you did it. You nailed it. And it's like going to war. I mean, I hate to put the similarities there between, like, obviously there's nobody out here trying to kill us. Like, I can't compare myself to like any of our veterans, but most of my closest friends have served and everything like that. And the way that they speak about the people that they have gone to war with, and what it feels like to be part of a team where you and your guys know exactly what they're doing, what you're doing. You don't have to think about what this guy's doing or that guy's doing. Like, they've got your back, you've got their back, and it's just a well-oiled machine. And the sense of brotherhood and companionship that you get from being a part of a team that works so diligently together, and for so long, for months on end, you're away from your families together, and doing radical things that not a lot of people experience. It creates this crazy bond, and I can't say that I know from experience, but from what all my brothers tell me, it's it's kind of a similar type of bond that we have as musicians in a band together.
Yeah. It's interesting. This isn't about me, but I do want to share this with you because I think it's something you can appreciate. Excuse me. Coming from the professional music world, and then for a small period of time, 7.5 years, I served in the Navy. And what I recall as being the most profound experience of my time in the service was boot camp. Because what it reminded me of is the exact same thing you mentioned just now. Being in a band, so you're right on the money. I mean, you're 100% right. So I endorse you, sir. Is boot camp is just like being in a band. Now, the difference is when you get out of boot camp, you do go to either war or you go to prepare for war, right? You go to, if you will, run the machine, right? The military machine. Being in a band is as close as it gets, and I've always equated it to being married, but being married to 4 or 5 other people. And no wonder every band breaks up, because the emotional content is at 100% all the freaking time, because you can't be a great band if you're not 100% committed. You can't be a half-in rock star. And I hate to use that term again now that you're so pissed at it.
No, I'm not mad at it at all. I just don't.
No, I know.
That's all.
I know. I'm just messing with you a bit. But you have to be 100% in. And so there's that military mindset of picking your brothers, agreeing on a system, and going all in, working it. You go to war together, and you guys, you jump on a bus, you jump on a train, you jump on a plane, you jump in a car, whatever you do, you jump on the stage, but you're always together. And that is very hard. It's very exciting. It's very frustrating. It's very powerful. The day you die, all your bandmates are going to remember you with a fondness nobody else will remember you with, because nobody will understand. And vice versa. Hopefully you'll live a really long life and outlive everybody else, but you'll feel the same way about them if you lose them first. And it's an extraordinary place to be, and it is a brotherhood. So for all the people that listen to podcasts like this and then they roll their eyes saying that guy doesn't know, I'm telling you, I'm caught in the middle. I was never a famous drummer, but I certainly know what it was like to be in that situation, and it's absolutely a band of brothers. It's all about that fist.
Yeah. Yep. Going through extreme moments together, and bonding through experiences that you really couldn't understand unless you were there. Yeah. It's like I'll never ever understand what it's like to be sent overseas and away from my family, and living in those types of conditions, and having to perform and do your job.
Yeah.
But likewise, it's very hard for your average individual to fully comprehend what it is that we go through on the road. And I'm not saying that they don't understand, like they couldn't look at our schedule and say, okay, well, I get it, this is what you do every day. But it's one of those things where you might understand the list or the idea or the scheduling of things, but to live it and be in it is something completely different.
Yeah. Do you have, as a band now, obviously you've had tremendous success, so do you have a fair amount of autonomy now, or do you still feel like you are sort of under the thumb of management and labels and, production? How do you feel about that?
We're very fortunate that we don't have a lot of that. We have a very, very good management team we're very close with. They're extremely involved in everything that we do, but I've never been one to really sit down and not voice my opinion. So and that's part of what makes them a great management team, is we're on the same page. We've got the same goals. We're working right alongside each other. But if there are things that I don't agree with, or a direction that I see should be changed, I've got no issues talking to anyone about it. And, we're very open like that. And, just pretty adult.
Yeah. I mean, it's not always like that, as you well know. I mean, what did you do before PopEvil? When, how did Lee find you?
Well, I was in a band. Well, professionally, I was a shop rat. I was a press operator. I was a welder, fabricator. But I was always in bands, and I was in a band with one of my childhood friends, Tony Grieve, and we were playing together for a long time. And he left me to go audition for PopEvil. They wanted a second guitarist, and he joined the band, and therefore I was pissed and screw those guys.
Yeah.
And then two months later, their bass player left, and Tony gave me a call.
Nice. That's perfect.
Brought me back in. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it's funny that you're in Michigan, because I think of Michigan as sort of the land of cold winters and bears, but that's probably more the Upper Peninsula,
Yeah. Yeah.
But what's it like I know these are weird questions, but I just want to talk to Matt DiRito before we get to STAR treatments, at least, just lay the groundwork of who you are. But what's it like growing up in Muskegon? I mean, you've been there since you were born?
No, I've been there since I was about 10 years old. I was born in California, lived out there for a while, lived in Arizona for a while. Yeah, I came to Michigan around the time I was in middle school, and it was all right. It was a culture shock for me. I'll tell you this much: when I lived in California and Arizona, growing up, and granted this was a different time, I never heard a racist joke.
Oh.
I never saw a fight on the school ground, playground, until I moved to Michigan. It was kind of interesting, I came and, I'd see kids fighting on the playground and stuff like that. And teachers just, well, boys will be boys, kind of a thing. And that wasn't the mentality that I'd really grown up with, just living out West. It quickly changed, but, I guess I got a little bit tougher skin moving to Michigan and living in Michigan, which is all right. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I had never heard a racist joke or a crack or anything like that until I moved to Michigan. I'm not trying to badmouth Michigan.
I understand.
It tells you a lot about, I guess, where I lived before and stuff. It was like just so common. Like, there are people from all walks of life that I never saw color until I moved to Michigan.
Yeah. I completely understand. It's actually the opposite. On my side, I grew up in small towns, traveled, moved a ton. I actually never saw a black man until I was in 10th grade. Think about that. So I was 16 years old. I'd seen him on TV, and that sounds racist to even say a black man or seen him on TV. But the point being is that I had never experienced any ethnicity outside of Caucasian or Hispanic. Because in Washington State, it's the west side of the state is basically where all the white people live, and the east side of the state is where all the Hispanic people live, and we jump from place to place, back and forth around the state. But yeah, I never ever saw that until I was a sophomore in high school, and for me it was never a shock because I was raised, it sounds so cheesy to say it this way, but I was raised to not see color, to not see anything. I mean, heck, I'm not going to go down that road, but I mean, every one of my friends is unique. That's the best way to put it. You know what I mean? And I really think it's the best way to live. The reality is, and this kind of leads into wanting to talk about START treatments, is we get one shot. We get one shot to do things right. I really, truly believe this. And why aren't we doing everything we can to ingratiate ourselves to others, right? Why aren't we doing everything we can to serve others and love others right where they stand? Because the reality is you're never going to agree with anybody 100%. And you're never going to convince them to agree with you because they just simply don't. But if they recognize your convictions and your desire to serve on a cellular level, they will support you, they will get behind you, and the thing you create, in your case, STAR treatments, it finds a voice and it finds traction and it deserves to be heard about. So if you don't mind, why don't we talk about STAR treatments and tell me how it started, what brought this to you and why did you create it?
I think it's interesting what you mentioned there too, being that if there's some kind of underlying human emotion behind things, people tend to see people for who they are rather than, what they might appear to be, or, you can see past opinions and really read people for what they are. And I think that's amazing. STAR treatments for me was something that I'd wanted to do for a long time. I didn't know what it was at first. I knew that as soon as I got involved with this band thing, I wanted to give back as soon as possible, as soon as I was able to give back, which is funny because if you wait for that, the time never comes. So I had people really push me to sort of make this idea happen. And I wanted to pair myself with a charity of some sort or some type of cause, but I couldn't really figure out one that I thought paralleled my own beliefs, or not that there aren't ones that I agree with out there, but something that really spoke to me. And I was watching a friend go through this situation with her daughter, where her daughter was diagnosed, and I saw from day one when she was diagnosed, and then going through all the treatments, and then finally into remission on the other side. And to see what their family went through, it made me think of ways that I could help. Mm-hmm. And for me to specifically help, what do I have, available? Like, what are my resources? And, one of the things that I noticed was their transportation. It was something that their insurance didn't cover. And if it did cover it, they had to wait a long time to get paid back and reimbursed for those things. But, in the meantime, it was all out of pocket. It was having to find reliable transportation. If you don't own a good car, finding someone to drive, gas money, all these different things. And I'm not sure how many people know this, but our children's hospitals are few and far between. There aren't a ton of them in the country.
That's
and so depending on where you're at, people have to drive 5, 7, 10 hours one way just to get to the hospital. Well, if you're going that far, and you obviously want the best care for your kid to see some of these amazing doctors, it's it's a hell of a commitment. And every family's different, every case is different. Some kids go once a month, some go twice a week. And so I thought, all right, well, we get to travel in style. We get, we're on these huge buses, we live in them, majority of the year. Like, if I can ride in that, and a kid should be able to ride in that, that would actually be really cool for a kid to do. And, like, what if we could, pick one up and take one with us, to the hospital on their way? And then the brainstorming just kind of went on from there. I thought about, star treatments, give them the star treatment on the way to get their chemo treatments. And that's kind of how the whole idea was born. I figured we could work with the bus companies, give them write-offs, and even now it's been more, depending on where the families are located, it's been more car services and limos and stretch limos and things like that than actual tour buses. But the idea remains the same, to set these families up with a care package, gift baskets and things from their favorite bands or sports teams on their way in, and bring them to the hospital in style.
Yeah.
Take care of it. So, the mom and dad don't have to worry about driving. They can take care of their kid in the back. The kid's not strapped into a seatbelt, sick from chemo and, or scared out of their mind on their way to get chemo, while their parents are trying to drive. It's just it's a win-win-win.
Yeah. No, that's gorgeous. I love it. What kind of reach do you guys have currently? Are you just in, Michigan, or are you all over the country?
We'll take any suggestions nationwide. So, like, if you write to me, Matt at startreatments.org, or info@startreatments.org, I'll get it either way. And we just go family by family and say, all right, well, what's your situation? What's your schedule like? Where do you live? Where you're from? Where are you going?
Yeah.
That whole kind of thing. And then we'll dig into it and see, is there a tour bus company that we can contact that's within a certain radius? Is there any kind of service that we can provide for you? We just had to do flights not too long ago. Our first set of flights for a girl who's going from South Carolina to Rochester, Minnesota, to the Mayo Clinic. And she had to have first class plane tickets because her hips are wearing out. She had to go have hip surgery and knee surgery. And it was the only way to get her and her family there quickly and comfortably.
Right.
So we ended up getting them, some first class plane tickets and car service here and there, everywhere they need to go. So
that's awesome. It's awesome. We have a children's hospital here in the Seattle area, and it's obviously impactful. But I imagine there's a fair amount of listeners that hear this and think, "Oh my gosh, this is a dream come true." What I want to make sure I'm asking the right question here. What don't you do? You know, in other words, is there a detailed list on the Start Treatment's website of what services you provide?
Sure. There's a basic mission statement that pretty much covers it, which says, we're a VIP transportation service and we provide transportation for, sick kids to and from medical facilities. So if it falls within that, we don't, unfortunately, we don't work with adults. We're just focused on kids. Not that I have anything against it, but, we have to have a very, structured mission statement in order to, in order to be the most efficient, really.
Yeah.
And that's just really what paralleled with how I feel. So.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, you do have to. I mean, I get it. It's this is not a snarky comment, but you do need to know your audience. You do need to serve as best as you can, and so making sure that your focus is extreme and pinpointed and laser accurate. That's how you're going to do the most good.
And I have people hit me up all the time and say, "Well, but." So-and-so I know would really, really like the service, and, they're going through a hard time with this or with that, and, they just got diagnosed with lung cancer, and, they're grown adults, and I'm like, sorry, I legally I can't even, because it's in my mission statement, I can't provide that service for you. And I just think there's something about, like, being a kid. There's nothing that they've done to deserve the disease that they've got. And I'm not saying that adults deserve to have cancer, but you and I can both make life choices drinking, this crap energy drinks and can, or smoking, or whatever it is. We've had the opportunity to make our poor life choices, and kids haven't yet. And I'm not saying that every adult that gets cancer is because they've made poor life choices or anything like that. That's totally ridiculous. But that was just, what helped me narrow it down. And I get people, people that'll write me and say, my medical bills are insane for my kid. Is there any way that you guys can help with my medical bills? Like, well, that's, we're in a transportation. Sorry, like I can't help you, but what I can do is I can repost your cause for you. I can help you bring attention to it. I can sign something and send you an autographed CD if you're doing a raffle or an auction, and try to help out in those kind of ways. But I can't write you a check.
Yeah,
basically what it comes down to.
No, that makes total sense. I imagine you have, at least in the beginning, did you get close to any families who were using the service?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually lost a couple of kids. Some of the first ones that we actually had use Start Treatments as a service. They've since passed. And there's really nothing you can do to prepare for how that feels. Even being a distant bystander, not even meeting some of them. It's just crazy the way that their stories affect you, and their courage affects you in the way that they choose to live life still, right up until the last day, if that's what's in their cards, It's a lot of very old souls in little bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little kids that got to grow up too fast. But.
Yeah. I struggle with that. There's an old adage, right? The burning star that burns twice as bright, burns twice as fast.
Yep.
And even though I do sort of get that in a sort of a traditional pop hero, like, I don't know, Kurt Cobain or somebody, right, who just kind of shot out like a meteor and then exploded. Kids, it's not even about not deserving. I mean, obviously, I agree completely with your sentiment that they are innocent. They didn't smoke, they didn't drink, they didn't drug, they didn't screw. You know what I mean? They just didn't do a whole bunch of stupid stuff we adults do. There's no real point to this outside of it's such a heartbreaking endeavor, and it hurts me to even listen to you talk about it, because you're right. You can say that you didn't know these families directly, and you can disengage yourself and say that's a kid that passed away in, I don't know, Ohio, and you never met their family. But a tragedy is a tragedy. It doesn't feel any less powerful. It doesn't hurt any less. I mean, I don't know about you. I admit it to my friends, I'm a kind of a crazy Facebook person. I probably do it a little too much, but every once in a while, you see these incredible posts of children in their last days, and the wisdom that comes out of their mouths. And then ultimately, you get notification maybe a few weeks after you've discovered them. You see their family posting on GoFundMe or some other similar type site where they're just asking for money, anything to get the help that they need to pay for all the services. And inevitably, the child passes away, and it's just so crushing. And, I don't know any of these families, and it sucks. It's like it sucks a piece out of you because Matt, here's the thing. I know I'm rambling a bit, but the thing that I liked about you from ground zero was I sensed a giant, heart on his sleeve wearing guy the second we talked on the phone a couple weeks back. And to see your eyes, to talk to you face to face, and to see your truth in your words is a pretty undeniable and powerful thing. And I want to do everything I can to serve your mission. And I want every one of my listeners, this is not me pandering, this is just the truth. I want you guys to go and take care of STAR treatments. I want you to get on a monthly payment plan, because it goes beyond kids not deserving to die. There's not a parent in the world that wants their kid to pass away.
It's a sense of community, you know what I mean? And I think that's what you're kind of getting to. And thank you for those kind words, man. I feel it. It's, we're all in this together, and there's not enough of that anymore. Like, you hear about the bombing that happened yesterday and things like that. And it's God, like, we haven't completely lost our way. There's still an underlying sense of community. That's why you're touched by these families that you don't know and stories that you don't know. And, it's like, it's hard to even have words for, I just thank you for your support and for having me on here and helping me talk about this and bring attention to it,
Yeah, I was reading about that terrorist thing that happened in London, and whoever did it waited until all the kids got together. He purposely went where the kids were.
Yeah.
So look, we can't stop evil. We can't stop disease. We can't slow any of it down. But something I want to share with you, if it's okay.
Of course.
I've been talking about this a lot lately, so people who have heard a podcast prior to this might say, they might roll their eyes or maybe fast forward, I don't know. But I just wish people would live like heaven is real. I just wish people would live their purpose, and you talked about songwriting, you talk about releasing pain, and that's so impactful to me, because I wonder at times when I talk to people like you, if they're living their purpose. And then you bring up STAR treatments, and I realize you're doing something so profound and powerful, and you're impacting lives, people you'll never meet. Some people you may, but most people you won't. And you're not doing it to have your name on the side of a library. And you're not doing it to have a statue in the the middle of Muskegon. You're doing it because you're a compassionate human being who has gifts and skills and a heart for people. And I don't know. I can't say how much I stand behind that and how important it is.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I got lucky that, for whatever reason, people pay attention to what I'm doing. They pay attention to my band. They pay attention to my social media and the things that I have to say. And I think with that comes a great responsibility. And I know that you and I touched on this before when we spoke, and it's one of those things where, you want to help, you want to do the right thing, and then that vision becomes a little clearer. You just take steps every day to make it happen a little more and a little more and a little more. And, I never thought a guy like me could make stuff happen. Or, I thought, I'll start my idea for a charity when I can afford it all, when I can pay for everything myself and not have to worry about asking other people for money. But,
right.
Look at all the families that I've helped so far. And it's because I've been pushed by my peers to make this happen, which is great. And realistically, you don't have to have money. You don't have to have all these different things to make a difference or to make something happen. It's, looking around and seeing what your talents are, seeing what you're good at, seeing how you can help. Everybody can help in a different way. Everybody's a master at something. Everybody's a genius at something. And I happen to have people paying attention to what I'm doing, which is great. And we spoke about this before. It's like, if there's a spotlight on me, what do I need it for? I don't need to glorify myself. I don't need to raise myself up. I'm lucky enough to have people paying attention to what I'm doing so that I can divert their attention and put it on something worthwhile, put it on people who need it. And I'm really lucky to be in that position. That's the most powerful thing that I could possibly have. Like, I don't need money and all this other stuff it's just stuff. You know what I mean? I don't want to be, I don't need it. Nobody needs it. If I can grab people's attention and then help them see what really does need attention, that's all I can ask for. That's the biggest thing that I could ever ask for. So,
well, you have my vote. That's for sure, man.
Thanks, man. And speaking of like different talents and stuff too, we had this conversation a little bit the other day about how not everybody helps the same. Like, we've done some pretty weird things to raise money for star treatments, and I kind of pride ourselves in that, being a little off the beaten path. And one of my biggest things is I root for the underdog, right? Like, it's the kid who got picked on in school and all that kind of stuff. So, your typical musician stuff, like, woe is me, a troubled teenager, that kind of thing. But I always root for the underdog. And so I feel like, you got to stick up for these kids. But in the same token, there are a lot of people, especially in the rock world, fans of rock and roll music, people that I associate with and people that I feel in tune with, that I see all the time, that most people would look at and think, well, what's that guy going to do to give back? Right. They don't have money, or they don't have this, or they don't have that. Gosh, man, the amount of bikers that rally together to raise money, where, people might put their nose in the air walking past them, the amount of money that bikers can generate by getting together, having a rally, having a ride, doing all that kind of stuff. Like, they're the best at it.
Yeah.
Our veterans, like, there's a girl that does a calendar for us every year. And, she does a calendar, and then the proceeds go to us. She donates 100% of the proceeds to whatever charity she picks. And she raises thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars selling calendars with her in bathing suits, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm like, man, you know what your talents are. You're using them for good. That's awesome. Who cares if it's not like a collection plate in in church Sunday morning? You're doing more than most.
Yeah,
you really are. And I'm proud of people like that. I'm proud of people that say, I'm not ashamed. Yeah, I can take some photos and I can make some money, and then I can do something good with it, and I can help people.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing. We have some really abstract things that we do. I told you over the phone, I was approached by an author a while back who writes erotic romance novels. And she said, I really love to use you as the main character in one of my books. I said, okay, we'll work out an agreement. And, 50% of the proceeds of that book that's now been published go to Star Treatments. Yeah. That's cool with me. If you're going to do something like that, if you're going to use your talents in a way, and you want to involve me, let's make it worthwhile. Because there's a market there. 50 Shades of Grey. Look at it. There's a market there. So as long as people are buying stuff like that, let's make those dollars count.
Yeah.
For something.
Yeah, a lot of people would definitely turn that away, and I love the fact that you are thinking so clearly about it, recognizing that we all have our talents, we all have our skills, we all have our proclivities. Nobody's completely right in the head. Right?
It's people helping people, that's the bottom line. Right. You want to do good things for somebody else, do it. It can come in all sorts of forms.
Absolutely. Do you you've heard the term be, do, have, right?
I'm sorry?
It's be, do, have. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
Okay, so basically it's the opposite of what most people do. Most people say, well, if I have the money, I will be... Excuse me. What am I saying? I'm doing it backwards because I'm thinking the opposite. Be, do, have. They say have, do, be, right? They say, well, if I have the money, I will do the thing, and then I will be famous, right? They always do it backwards. You were actually kind of alluding to that earlier. You were like, well, when I get there, I'll do X. And then you realize, I just got to jump off the cliff. And be, do, have, right, is say, I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to do these things, and then I'll have it. It's you stop worrying about the opposite, because most people say, right, I've got to have the money, or I've got to have the attention or the fame or the success or the notoriety to actually do anything. And the reality is I'm a perfect example of a guy who's a terrible podcaster. I'm terrible. No, okay, I'm okay, but I am not a radio host. I don't come from that world. I don't have my 10,000 hours of experience. I'm not amazing. I'm off the cuff. I say and ah a lot. I have to write certain questions out because I get so distracted sometimes by what I'm listening to that I don't know where to go, right? It's all those weaknesses, but the reality is if you just do it, the organic thing that happens is it happens. Right? And you just went and did it, and now it's happening, and it's really turning on. And step by step. Yeah, step by step, little by little. Now that my listeners have heard it, I'm hoping, gosh, but even if it's just one, Matt, it's one person or one group that's giving and changing the lives of all these people that can't help themselves. Because, if my child is dying of cancer, I'm probably not doing a podcast. I'm selling the gear. You know what I mean? Right. I'll do anything I can to keep them alive and to keep them comfortable. And the fact that you're providing this sort of in-between service is something that's so brilliant because it's not typically thought of, right? It's kind of an afterthought. It's logistics, No one wants to spend time worrying about logistics until you have to do it. Yeah, It's awesome. I love it. Can I ask you a few questions before I let you go?
Of course.
A few more. Wow. Cough, cough, cough. So did you feel that there's an influence from your charity on your approach to music now? Do you feel like it impacts your life so much that you bring it with you to PopEvil?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. Yes. And this is why it's not even, I'm going back to that word, the lifestyle thing, right? It's symbiotic. It's not one or the other. My charity doesn't influence what I do with PopEvil any more than what I do on my own or what I do with PopEvil influences the charity. It's a standard that I try to live by and that I try to hold myself to, of treating people good, being positive, putting out positive thoughts, and it goes for everything across the board. And it opens up more doors for me than anything else ever has, than any song possibly could. You know, it's just a lifestyle. You know, it's a commitment to a certain way of living and treating people with respect and just trying to do good, putting your best foot forward. And sometimes you put your best foot forward, you get your toes stepped on, you pull your foot back a little bit. That's fine. My lifestyle now changes the way that I write with PopEvil, changes my approach to PopEvil, how I handle our crew, other bandmates, rehearsals, logistics, set list, songwriting. Every aspect of it affects every aspect of my life.
No, it totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. I mean, I would expect nothing less. If it's the chief influence, it seems to be, it's the obvious thing. It's the catalyst to the next stage of your life. It's everything.
Absolutely.
So, we're gonna end on a lighthearted way here, because I got to stop crying. And
sorry, man.
No, it's okay. It pretty much nailed me there. So I have this thing called 17 questions, and I try to ask a few unique questions that are solely created for you. Some of them are questions I've asked across the frontier with a number of different artists, but feel free to answer them how you like. You can answer them in one-word answers, or you can answer them with massive, massive detail. It's up to you. So if you're ready, we'll begin.
Absolutely.
Do you have skeletons in your closet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's why there's skeletons in the closet, because if I brought them out, then they wouldn't be in.
Oh, I'm so hoping. Okay. Question number 2. You have to kill, skin, and eat one of the following: a bear, an elk, a rabbit, or a hog. Which one do you pick and why?
I have to do all three things to one?
You have to do all three things to one. You have to kill, skin, and eat those: a bear, an elk, a rabbit, or a hog. Which one do you pick and why?
I feel like a bear would be the best answer for me. I'm guessing if I had to kill, skin, and eat it, it means it's for survival reasons. And if I'm going to survive, I better be able to go up against something like a bear and win. And that'd be an ultimate test there. It would be, the challenge in taking down a bear. Also probably the most gratifying to take down a bear. And skinning it, the bear skin would go a lot better than most of the other animals. And eating it, man, I mean, you'd be set for a year.
Yeah, probably.
Eating bear steaks. So go big or go home, man. I'm going for the bear.
I love that answer. I was totally throwing a Ted Nugent at you there, so that was pretty great. Okay, question 3. What haven't you done on tour as of yet?
What haven't I done?
Yeah. It's a weird question on purpose.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, there are places that I haven't gone yet.
Okay.
That I'd like to go. I haven't been to Australia. I haven't been to Japan, China. I'd love to go to South America. I haven't had the chance to do that yet. Hopefully those things will be coming up in the next year or two. Other than that, actually doing things on tour, I mean, I've opened for some of my favorite bands. I've played on stage with some of my favorite musicians and idols, and played in arenas and huge festivals and crowds, in different places of the world. I've done headline shows, and I mean, the checklist is running dry, man. I've pretty much hit just about everything that I've aimed to do on tour.
Yeah.
And a few things that I didn't even know I wanted to do, and I've since gave up.
And I was going to say that you don't remember, but your friends tell you did, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I've read some of those stories. Good for you, sir. Good for you. Okay, this is a really embarrassing question, and I always struggle asking it, but I ask this to everybody. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how attractive do you think you are?
Do I think I am?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I put myself at a solid 6.5.
There it is.
Shows room for improvement, but I don't know, man. It depends on when you catch me.
Yeah, sure.
Am I stage ready or am I just waking up?
Stage ready. I like that. That's great. That should be the question I should ask on a scale right there on the stage. So
stage ready under the right lights and atmosphere and angles and everything like that.
Right.
Might be pushing a 7.
Right. When the hair whip is up, I mean, you might even be an 8. So.
I don't know about that. The hair is an extra point by itself when it's properly maintained.
Great. Are you evil or pop?
I'm on the evil side.
All right. What has?
I'm a metal guy.
Yeah, there you are. Exactly. What has to happen for a song to be perfect or as close to perfect as possible?
Never happens. You never get a perfect song, man. You never get a perfect song. You get pieces of it that you are absolutely in love with. I'm going to say the biggest factor in getting a song perfect or close to perfect is who you have mix it.
Ah, great answer. Great answer. Which song of yours do you most dislike playing live?
Usually the ones we don't like playing, we don't play anymore.
Okay, that's a great answer.
But there are a few in there, like Boss's Daughter.
Okay.
Is one for me, where the song had a time and place in our career. It had its purpose. We co-wrote it with Mick Mars. It was a great time. Shot a music video with Mick Mars and a playmate. But to me, it just reminds me of a point in PopEvil where I wasn't really happy.
Gotcha.
So,
what is your favorite on-stage failure? Your Spinal Tap moment.
Oh, we have them nightly. Come on. I've fallen off of a stage before a couple times. We've all fallen on stage. It happens.
Yeah.
Like everybody falls on stage at some point in time, and that's always pretty funny usually. We had one. I've got a little video clip of it where I accidentally tripped our monitor guy. He was running across the stage and running behind me, and like just as he came up, I obviously didn't see him. I kind of switched my stance and put one of my feet back, and he just straight down.
I can see it without ever seeing the video. I can imagine it.
I felt terrible, but it ultimately is pretty funny.
That's great. If you could go back to one year in your life, what year would that be and why?
I don't think I'd want to go back. I have no interest in it.
I like your answers so much, Matt. This is great. Give me a one-word description of yourself.
Fuck.
That's great. Yes. So great. Would you rather bathe with a seal?
Word than that.
What was that?
I said, what's a more versatile word than that?
No, it's
you can
perfect.
Use something however you want.
Perfect. Perfect. Would you rather bathe with a seal or a shark? I know that's weird.
Seal.
That's easy. War of...
Seals are my favorite animal. I got them tattooed over me.
That's awesome. Wow.
That was an easy answer.
Yeah. No, clearly. Did you see that video on YouTube yesterday where the seal plucked the girl off the pier?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah, and then that like linked me to YouTube, and all these videos started popping up of like there's like an eagle that swoops and picks up a kid. And
yeah.
I was watching some crazy stuff after that. But yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, the dark side of YouTube.
He just wanted a friend, man. But
that's great.
Common sense goes a long way.
Okay. A few more here. War of Angels or Up?
Up.
What are 3 things you cannot live without?
Air, water, and sleep.
That's fair.
I mean, literally. I don't know that there's anything that I couldn't physically live without. I mean, material possessions is...
They're just that, material possessions.
Yeah.
Okay. If you can't live in Michigan, where would you move?
Either Louisiana or Tennessee.
Why?
When we first started touring, I went to Louisiana, and I always just felt at home there. Love the people, love the food, love the way of life. It's real slow. No one's ever in a rush to get anywhere, to get to work or anything. They're always looking for a good excuse to cook food and hang out. And it's a slower pace life where I feel like people really, really enjoy it and get it. In Tennessee, it's good. It's centrally located. The laws are a little bit better, gun laws and things like that, which I'm into. I know a lot of people there. Like I said, it's centrally located. It's easy for me. Wherever I live is basically a vacation place to me, if you think about it. Like most people have to pick where they live according to where they work. But I don't have to live where I work. I can't. I'm on the road. So when I'm off the road, when I'm at home, it means I'm on vacation, basically. Not that I don't work from home too, but it could be anywhere, and it might as well be a place where I can see a lot of people, or people can get to me easily too.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Those are great. Those are both great places. I love Tennessee. It's gorgeous. Not quite as hot as Louisiana too.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not quite as hot.
Yeah, that's another reason I love Louisiana. I can ride my Harley there year round.
Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. It's just the humidity. It's like riding through a veil of rain. It's so intense. Do you like that? Are you a humidity guy? You don't mind?
I dig it. Wow. My hair doesn't dig it, but I don't mind.
That's cool. So last question here is, I believe in something called the 97-3 rule, and I've made it up, but it really is something I believe in. I use it quite a lot in different business meetings and different functions. And basically what I mean by that is I believe everybody is 97% badass at something. You kind of addressed this earlier. You said everybody's great at something. Mm-hmm. Most people just don't know what that is, and they're maybe afraid to jump off the cliff and figure it out, right? What I know, what your 97 is, or I should say, I probably can figure it out myself. But what are you terrible at? That 3% that you need somebody else to fill in. What is that?
Asking for help.
Wow.
I'm terrible at it. That was the hardest part. Starting this charity, doing things on a day-to-day basis with the band, with any venture that I go down. I have a hard time asking for people to help. And, with the charity, and, it's basically the whole thing is, on one hand, you're asking people to help and donate money. And on the other hand, you're taking that money and helping people. And I've got, people that work with me at Star Treatments that I have to have handle some of those conversations with, like asking people for money. Basically, I have a hard time doing it, even if it's asking on behalf of someone else or asking for help for anything, to run this, to do QuickBooks, to do the website, to help design some shirts or anything like that.
Wow. Well, I will offer myself up to you, sacrificial lamb. And I mean this. I mean, I know you kind of know this already because of some other things that are going on off to the side, but I fully support your charity. Fully support it. My podcast, some of my business friends, we're talking about creating an outreach that we can do that can then help empower yours. So I just want to encourage everybody to check out startreatments.org and do everything you can to get behind this, because it's a life-changing thing. And again, these families and these children, there's no deserve in this. They didn't deserve any of this. And this charity that Matt has gotten behind and formed and got the support of is everything for these families. In the middle of massive crisis and chaos, there's a calm. And I'm just really honored to know you, man. You're a hell of a guy.
Hey, man, like attracts like.
All the way, brother. So any last words you want to share before I shut her down?
Thank you for having me on. It's been much needed from my end. I haven't had a chance to really talk about Star Treatments very much or really anything since we've been locked up in this place writing songs together. And I really appreciate you reaching out and setting this up and giving me a platform to talk about Star Treatments a little bit and other stuff too. One thing that I would encourage everyone out there to do is, if you're hesitant about donating or setting up a monthly donation or anything like that, sign up for our newsletter. Go on our website. Sign up for the newsletter. You can see what we do. We send out one a month. We're not going to bombard you with it, but it comes out on the first of every month. You can see what we're up to. I always put a little message in there so you can kind of see where my head's at, and just I encourage you to follow it and maybe spread the word. So
yeah. No, I agree. And I will tell people, I think I mentioned this earlier, but there is a setting through your website that you can in a sense, create a monthly subscription as little as $10.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. There's a lot of charities out there. There's a lot of things people are passionate about. But I don't know anybody in the world that can't find $10 to change the lives of kids. So I get it. I'm a shill right now. I get it completely, guys. But please get behind this. I think it's incredible. And these kids need your help. And Matt's He's the great redeemer. No, but you are doing incredible things, and I appreciate you. So thanks again for the time and rock and roll. I'm going to put one of your great killer songs on the tail end of this, and we'll treat the fans with some righteous PopEvil. All right?
Sounds great, man. Thanks, brother.
All right.
I've been counting on my steps, on my nose just turned to yes. Silently I must confess my troubled history. This washed away all my sins, starting over once again. This is where it all begins, it's right in front of me. Down is not where I belong, this aching heart won't turn to stone. There's a fire inside these bones, it was meant to be. I see your world still full of light, how could I ever been so blind? I still haven't lost my fight that haunts me in my sleep. I feel like waking up, I've had this dream before. I take time will tell if all the cards will treat me well. Cause this hand that I've been dealt keeps me wondering. So now here I turn the page. I've learned to silence all my rage. Tell me who can really say what will tomorrow bring. I feel like waking up. I've had this dream before. I take these footsteps, go higher, go higher. I walked in empty mind, walk down this lonely soul. I take these footsteps, go higher, go higher. Higher, go higher. I find you so far away. I find you after all. I find you so far away. I find you after all. I feel like